Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie comic interview. It is your Caped Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our new friend, Markus Patron. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? It's morning for me, but it's afternoon, evening for you. So how is it on in your parts over there?
It was nice and sunny. Now it's kind of cooling down. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's all groovy. I've been sort of working today, but I've been all right.
Nice rainy and gloomy for us. It was like 72 80s for us. Ohio is pretty weird though. Like, so we'll have snow in the first half of the week and then summer the next half, and it's just a whole lot of depression in between.
Our weather's a bit more constant than that. It's either kind of just grey and miserable, or sunny. It's never too extreme.
Yeah. So we are gathering here today to break down your first indie comic, 13 Shots of Whiskey. And this was something you said you started creating roughly about 2 years ago, right when the pandemic hit. So you didn't have any sort of like writing or creating experience beforehand?
Actually, no, I misspoke. Now, this was created at the end of 2021, within 7 weeks. So like I've been trying to make comics beforehand, but like
I gotcha.
Me and a cat called Devin Ascott were doing a Kickstarter for the Gateway, and that failed to launch, and I was full of like spiteful fuck you energy, so I figured I need to channel it into something, and Jim Rugg had created Octobriana within 7 weeks, and I thought, well, I can do that, and see if I could, and I did. So yeah, I've been since the pandemic and everything, I've been trying to become like a professional comic book artist and do it properly and hone my skills and everything. But like in the last end of 2021, I wanted, after all that noise, to have something to show for it. So that's why that's how that came about. So it's not.
So
it's not like a two-year labor of love. It's like a 7 week dealio.
So you said you failed. You had a Kickstarter that failed on you. You care to break down what that book was and what it was about, and kind of let's kind of talk like what you felt like might have been the reasoning and stuff. I'm always interested in kind of hearing, because it motivated you to push out a book, without a Kickstarter. So I think there's some merit in kind of breaking down like what led to it.
Okay, so first part of your question, the book was called. It's called The Gateway. It's like a Lovecraftian horror set on a farm in Alabama, in which basically there's these cats called the Jebs, and they've gone away, and their farm boy Holt finds some weird shit going on in their barn and goes to investigate it, and it turns out there's this portal into an alien dimension that is just breaking through, hence the Gateway, and some weird Lovecraftian shit goes down, and so it was a 42-page black and white kind of horror book that so the first proper big kind of thing that I worked on. I think it was one of the first things that Devin drew as well, wrote. So yeah, and then had a lot of fun with it, and then went on to launch it on Kickstarter, and so we set everything up. And as to why it failed, fuck knows. Your guess is as good as mine.
What was your goal?
It was only like a couple grand. It wasn't that much. Like it was. I think what the thing for me was like I had the cash to pay for a release, right? So I was like, I've got the money for it. Let's just release it. Don't have to fuck around with Darren's like, but like we're like, oh no, we'll go via Kickstarter, because it's an advertising campaign for one thing, and all this stuff. So and you get more eyes, and they've got their own marketplace, and they draw fans in and stuff. So in theory, like it's there to get eyeballs on it, and it didn't bring the eyeballs along. There was an initial kind of like boost, and like if we had kept on the trajectory that we had when we initially dropped on it, we'd have made like 200% over our thing. But it just died a death after the initial initial phase, and then just trying to keep it up and up, and like it seemed no matter what we do, because we're advertising on Twitter, on Reddit, and all this fucking shit, and just, it didn't seem to take off. And so at the end of it, I had a book that I put a lot of time and effort and energy into. It's like 3 months of my life, and then at the end of it, because of some fucking algorithm and shit, and just because it didn't fucking, because you look at some things I take off from Kickstarter, it's like, how in the fuck is that funding?
Yeah.
Not to come across as bitter, but I am, so it's the way it's going to come out. I was like, how is that fucking funding? Why is that getting funded like 3 times as Kickstarter, its goal, within 3 fucking hours? What the shit is that? Why
can't I get a little chunk of that my way?
Why can I make the goal over 4 weeks or whatever? Like, my book is good. Not to sound arrogant, but again, I am, so it's way going to come out. My book is good, is well written, well drawn. All this. We had an interesting take on it. It would have given you would have got some really good kind of like backing and everything. Like, so it was like no reason why my book should have fucking failed. And taking that.
So.
Where
all were you advertising? You said you were advertising on Twitter. Like, how big is your Twitter following?
My Twitter following is not that big, but like my mate did the Sensational Elephant Man. He had fuck all following when he started, and he funded his book like lickety split. I think one of the highest funded Kickstarters when in issue rolled.
What do you think he did right though? Like, he didn't like.
Fuck do I know? I did everything he said to do. Like he's like we're Twitter friends, and I'm like, oh, he does that. Well, I'll try that. And it's like, and again, like he did not have that bigger following, much more following than I have. I don't know, maybe like Twitter's just like, oh, he keeps advertising his stuff. He's not paying for advertising. Let's just like shadow ban him or some shit, And it's like, and I'm at the behest of fucking tech bro algorithms who just want to get like, who want clout chasers and whatnot, So it's like, again,
right. You have to.
It then makes me go like, hey, why is this person getting it? It must be because of A, B, and C, or of course they tick this box here and stuff. And I'm like becoming really bitter towards my compatriots and work colleagues and stuff. And whatever. I'm basically getting jealous of the people who no, not jealous, envious of people who happen to just be lucky and stuff. And I'm, so it turned me into a bit of a cunt. And it's like, no, I'm not fucking. This is why I'm not really fucking with Kickstarter no more, because like I don't need a reason to be a petty, spiteful little man. Yeah. I certainly don't need some algorithm devised by some social media platform to make me into a prick. So,
and
honestly, I think that energy and that rant is what made the 2 books that I've put out. So, on a slightly happy note, me and Devon have actually put the book out, so you can get it from my Gumroad,
which we have that link down in the description as well, guys, for anyone that's interested. Yeah. So I really think it's
it's just a lot of fucking pent up energy, and it's like, so
it feels good to get off though, right?
I'll try not to be so energetically angry next time.
No, you're good. You're good. It's like, I always think it's interesting because, for me as someone who like interviews creators, I always like hearing both sides. I'm not one that kind of like stray from asking those questions, but I ask them because, for in this case, it helped you, motivate you to push to create this next book. And this one seems like it's a lot different of a story than what you guys originally was making. So what kind of drove you to make 13 shots of whiskey? Like, you said you were a drinker too. Was this maybe something that was kind of dealing with you being a bit of a heavier drinker or something?
I wish it was that deep, my friend, but no. My drinking, my drinking is fine. Like I'm not. The thing is, like, I work in an off license, so like, and I live in London. And I work in one of the greatest off licenses in the country, in the world, I dare say. And so I have an interest in booze and stuff, like in how it tastes and like where it comes from. Like, so there's like inside of baseball there, but like my drink, but like I've seen it where cats go too far off the deep end. So like I've seen the warning signs. So like, you know, I'm okay. So I can pull myself back and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
you can push back from it. I gotcha. Yeah, for me, I go up in the club and I'm like, all right, give me like 3 double shots. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky in the fact that the best person, my favorite person to club with is my wife, and then basically because both of us worked retail, she's ended up doing these really shitty hours, so we didn't get to go to a club for ages, and I never got to. And then my daughter came along, so like there's basically no time to go clubbing or nothing. So yeah. But back to your question. What's the reason? The question for 13 Shots of Whiskey. The reason it's called 13 Shots of Whiskey as an anthology series is because the comic I was writing was originally called The 3 Deaths of the Sly Motherfucker, and basically people were like, no, that's a bad title for a book, man. You can't call it that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I could. I like the name. Okay, well, I'll call the series 13 Shots of Whiskey, and then I'll call the story itself 3 Deaths of the Sly Motherfucker. But then I would also like I in the nebulous period of naming the thing, I'd also asked like which would be better, 3 Deaths of the Sly Motherfucker or 3 Deaths of Willis Waterhouse. People said like Willis Waterhouse, you silly shit. You know, you won't be able to sell it otherwise. And so that kind of like, so the name 3 Deaths of the Sly Motherfucker dropped. Started doing 3 Deaths of Willis Waterhouse, and I got the idea in my head of doing like, oh, this could be an anthology. I'm sitting down, I'm enjoying creating this. I can do this. Let's run with this. That's why it's called 13 Shots of Whiskey.
So no significance like with the 13 at all. Like nothing behind it.
Dope.
I was gonna say, I mean, there's so many different things that went into my head. I was like, well, maybe it's like the 13th step, you know, for like NA. You know, like how they have the 12 steps and like the 13th step is kind of, you know, that's why I love doing these, because like the creator's mind and then the consumer's mind are often 2 different like playing fields. So it was really interesting. And and
all that noise.
This guy, you know, this protagonist, he's a protagonist, right? Or is he an antagonist? I don't know.
The difference being?
Is he the hero in the story or the villain?
He's neither. He's just the guy. I mean, he's the protagonist, and he's an anti-hero. He's not a good man. But then again, the guy who offed him isn't a particularly good man either. But like, he's been wronged. The only person in the story who would be classified, when I was writing, the only 2 people classified as being, you know, good would be
his wife,
Sarah, and Taneka and stuff. But even then, it's a case of like, they're just, in comparison to Willis, who is a turd, they come off better because, you know, I haven't shown, you know, apart from Taneka being violent and stuff, I haven't really shown them being anything other than just, you know, having a good time or reacting to the fact that the BFF and husband have shuffled off this mortal.
Yeah, you know, when I was reading that, I at first I was like, this slimy motherfucker coming up on his girl, trying to get a drink. I was like, I see what you're doing here. Like, so yeah, no, it was really interesting. So what inspired you to kind of go with this take? You know, the cowboy feel. He's a heavy drinker. He's out there causing trouble. Like, what inspired this? You said this was written right in the grip, like when COVID was shutting everything down. This was right off a Kickstarter that didn't pan out. So what created this? You know, this character, this environment.
Well, the reason it's a Western is because when I've approached people to work with and stuff and to draw with, and they said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And it's, I fancy doing a Western because, you know, I like them, in fact, but no one took me up on it. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm doing it myself, I can. And via the gateway, I learned that I quite like drawing horses. So I was like, you know, quite old before I realized that. I was like, oh, I like this. I can do this. And
a lot of people don't like drawing the horses too. So that's pretty interesting that you found it on the opposite end.
I do like drawing them. To all future publishers, I can draw horses and I can draw cars. Anyway, so the and the reason for it was because I like the idea of the unreliable narrator and stuff. So like so the beginning part of the book is him telling his life story, and he's telling his life story, and I was channeling my deepest inner Johnny Cash and the guy with the Willie Nelson, and I was like, it would be cool to do that and then have it flip around so we can see why he was see how he was lying and everything. So so that's where that came from, just to have the story of a man retelling his life, and then we'd see what a liar he was.
Okay, so hey,
I think that was about as deep as I went.
Let's go ahead and dive into it, though. We have it pulled up right here, so we can actually pull it up and kind of break it down, so we can go over like your thoughts of writing it and kind of like my thoughts when I was reading it, you know, and kind of see how different they are. Let me move this over here. So right here is the cover, and this is, you know, we see our man of the hour all bloodied up right there. So what was kind of your direction for this cover when you were talking to you drew this yourself, right? You didn't have an artist draw it. So what was some of your inspiration for it?
Faces. We're naturally drawn to human faces, so having that look out across you on a comic book rack, I thought would stand out, and I figured I'd try to get elements of the story into it, since the poker chips and the cards and the and the whiskey bottle. But that's essentially just I wanted a face to be kind of glaring out at you across a comic book on a comic book stand.
And then this is where we get the introduction. We see him getting shot right in the stomach, and I thought that was a really powerful start. You know, so, hello, I'm Willis Waterhouse, and I've just been shot.
That was the initial kind of like, that was the first like kind of concrete image I had in my head. Like, I'm gonna have him be shot in the first panel. That is, you know, and then again spiraled out from there. That was like the breadcrumb that kind of like, you know, because I wanted like that big stark image of him being silhouetted, and like I think my initial plan was to have this colored. Because this is like the third book that this would be this. I think it would be the third or second comic I've ever lettered, and because I can't, my handwriting is appalling, so I've never thought I could do lettering. And then it's like, actually, I quite like this. This is quite fun. So well, I'm gonna both color and letter it and stuff. And but as we progressed through the stages, like my passion for doing the coloring kind of just dissipated into point. Like I didn't even think about it for about 2 weeks before I realized, oh, I had all these issues, plans and stuff. And then I was like, but I was more concerned with how am I going to letter this? What lettering can I do? That was the next kind of like, because I can draw well enough.
Well, and coloring would add so much more to the work plate too, I would imagine. And
the cost of printing it, you know, printing colors, you know, for small indie is kind of prohibitively expensive.
So we see Willis riding off on a horse. And this is kind of like a reoccurring theme, just like his daddy made him. What was kind of the significance behind that, like him kind of holding on to because of like what his father taught him?
It's because it's basically me challenging my inner country music boy, and but basically I like the lyricalness of it, and it's, you know, like I don't know how you think about yourself, but like when you kind of get lost in the weeds of your own mind, like this is how I am, who I am, and like, and you find, and I've generally found that people who are the biggest bullshitters have a really high opinion about themselves, and then also like you have plenty of excuses to why they're fucking turds and stuff, and it's like always a bit more romanticized, and like, oh, I'm like this because of the X, Y, and Z, you know, because you know, basically any small-minded little guy you can find, is like there's always an excuse to do it because of where they're from, who their parents were, like if they you know, like what religion they adhere to. Like there's always, like, if they are a bad person, they will use like the things that they had no control over, like the country they were born in, their parents, and, you know, religion they were affiliated with, justify their terrible behavior, and they'll romanticize it and stuff, and like, you know, like the whole kind of thing, like, I'm an alpha male. Like, no, you're not, bruv, because there's no such thing. And, you know, it's like all these things like to justify their terrible behavior. And like he was a shit. His dad was an arsehole by all accounts. But like, he didn't make, he learned being a prick at his daddy's knee, but he didn't have to be. He could have been, he could be a decent guy. So that's and also the reason for like the peyote and the cactuses and stuff, and the snake, is because they're like totems of kind of like trickster gods and liars, and in Native American kind of mythology and other mythology and stuff. Where like, so it's like when he's lying and stuff, it's because they will be kind of littered throughout and stuff. The reason why there's a blue-tongued skink on the front cover is because that is a totem for lying. That lizard is a blue-tongued skink.
I'm so happy we did this. When I read that, I was like, oh, he's just doing a good job, like showing the environment of the desert where they're at. I never would have guessed that it was just like representations of like tricksters and foolery like that. That's pretty insane. Like I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for that. So we see him kind of here.
When when you take a photo of yourself and you look kind of blank and glazed and stuff. Well, obviously you don't, because you're a charismatic young man. But when you go to acting school, they tell you when you're taking a photo and stuff, you need to be thinking about what you need to be thinking of something like the role you're doing or whatever. So there's something behind the eyes. So there's some more depth to it and stuff. And like, oh yeah, I could have just done any old kind of thing on the background, but like they needed a reason for it to be there. So like you put a bit more passion and a bit more care. So there's something. If there's something behind it, it's not just fluff and porn. It's basically like there is a reason for this being here, and that reason is X, Y, and Z.
So here we kind of see Willis accepting kind of his fate to become a man of the soil. He intends to return to it.
I like that one.
And this is kind of like, so when I read this, I didn't realize it right off the rip, but this is kind of like a flashback. Then underneath this, we see him kind of remembering, catching a rabbit, skinning it, which I thought you did a really excellent job, kind of like detailing that as well, like showing the different, details in the muscle and everything.
God bless Google.
And then that he's been known to drink, so we kind of see what led, up to this, kind of just like his past behaviors. Right here's his friend doing him dirty, like taking money from him, and then kind of how they're singing and fighting, and then right here too, forgiving man. So this is kind of like him having like relationships behind Sarah's back.
Yeah.
So
that's him and Taneka fucking.
Yeah. So we kind of see just like a buildup of what to kind of expect of his character. The type of people he hangs around, like they're stealing from him, but then they're pretending to be his friend to his face, and then they're fighting. Really interesting setup. What was your inspiration for his friend though? What type of type of character were you looking to build with him?
I mean, how the thing with Taneka was the fact that like it was essentially it's his friendship with them is built around the scene that you got going on there, because I built out from that, and like it's when you get a friend who is a bit of a douche, but they're fun to hang around with because they make you laugh and stuff, and then they eventually they bristle and they break, and it's a case of like, no, you're a cunt, I'm cutting you out of my life. That's the sort of relationship that Taneka's got going on with Willis and stuff, like they're friends and they're BFFs and like bed buddies and everything, but like also you can only strain a relationship like that so far before it breaks, and it does in this one. So that's basically what I was going with, like a bit more of a mellower vibe to Willis's kind of hot-headedness.
And then down here we kind of see him played. This is like the big poker game. We see him kind of playing honest game. So this is where he's lying then, right?
Yeah.
So right here we have that bottle of tonic with a snake on it. But what else in this scene would you say kind of that you detailed that might have been hidden?
Just got I think just the snakes in it and stuff. If you go down to the chips and everything, Trying to remember because it was
Yeah, but here's a snake in the ace.
Yeah, I think if you go back up to the middle, because in theory, like the truth of the panel is in the first panel, right? Because they're generally the more kind of straightforward, kind of clear things. Like he's definitely playing a game of poker, and then the third panel, depending on how cluttered and how like unrigid it is, would be him just spitballing and lying and everything. So like that, that's him lying, and then and then the ace of spades being the snake. That's him. That's to indicate that he's not his. God, that's some shit learning. That's not him. That's him recanting it. Not that's his take on it, not being as truthful. He got in a fight though, and like he being a tosser at poker. See, and this next page where we talk about his fighting and everything, they're all true. He hit somebody, he battered somebody, and his dad battered him. I know it depicts child abuse, but I'm really proud of that panel. I think that just says so much.
Yeah, it kind of like it looks like it developed his character, like, you know, as someone who kind of enjoyed this type of punishment. And then this is where we kind of break down his love interest of the story with Sarah. And even here he kind of, you know, admits that she's a prize far better than he deserves. Yeah.
The fact that she's a prize as opposed to like a companion or partner, so, you know. And again, because it's with this, like, cause it's not a rigid, the third panel not being rigid and stuff, like it's, you know, it's not a happy relationship or much or anything, because like it's not, and then like the third panel, that's actually what happened. He was a dick who put his food in the plate of the meal that she prepared.
Yeah, feet up on the table, smoking at the table. And then sometimes a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and this is where we see him kind of running off. So what's he looking to do? Like go out and party and have fun, or, you know, what's he leaving for?
He's just leaving because, like, I don't know if you know, I've had one prick in my life. It's just like a relationship only lasts for so long. And, you know, I mean, you know, not everyone's meant to be in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I got you.
Like a hand, you know, like jobs. You take a handful of it over the course of your life, and you know, but like this guy I knew would basically do that, but like then he would make the breakup such a big old like melodramatic kind of noise, really making it bad for the girl he was leaving and everything, because there had to be so much drama and stuff. And that's what this is. Like, instead of going like, you know what, I'm bored, I'm gonna go fuck someone else. You cool with that, love? I'm gonna bounce. It's like, no, it's gotta be like all it's love, it's Hollyoakian levels of melodrama and stuff.
And then we kind of see him walking off, and right here in the end, I know she'll forgive me. And then we see the snake again wrapping around the tree, looking at him.
Yeah.
I felt like this was like a symbolism that he knows that, of course, she's not gonna forgive him.
Yeah. I mean, why would she?
And then we kind of go back. So this is kind of was just like you know, a flashback, and then we're back on the horse. I'm a good man. I'm not afraid to die. And we kind of just see him on his last limb. You know, he's talking about how he's earned this beautiful end, and then this land given to him, glorious bounty. He's a good man, just like his daddy. And I thought this was a really interesting, beautiful panel too. You kind of see him looking off into the distance, prepared to like kind of just die here. But that, of course, is not what happens, right?
No, not even a little. Look, these 2 pages, I'm really proud of these ones. And this is my favorite page when you better scroll down on.
Oh, when he gets zoomed in.
When he gets lassoed and stuff, yeah.
So Willis has always made me laugh. Back before the farm, the 3 of us kicking back, swearing at the fish. He always used to make me smile. And then Sarah goes to answer the door, but it's not Willis, it's his friend. Yeah. And this is kind of where I was like, this dude's slimy, because like he's pulling up on his ex-old lady with, you know, but maybe I misread that, because now after hearing kind of your breakdown of it, you know, it seems more like he's here to kind of tell her like that he went off the deep end.
I mean, I mean, at the end of the story, it is Taneka who tells Sarah what happened to Willis and everything, and it is. But I mean, I might just I might not have just expressed the sincerity in Taneka and trying to, because he digs her and stuff, and so maybe I didn't get that across as succinctly as I could have done, and I should have done better. So thank you for highlighting what a piss poor storyteller I am.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I like the reason I felt, and that's the reason why I felt that, because he made it a point to say, where was it down here? Like she's like, basically telling him to leave, and then he's like, I like you a lot. And I was like, oh, this dude, that's why I got that vibe. I'm like, oh, he's trying to get in there with her. Yeah. I wouldn't say you're a piss poor storyteller, because I mean, you engaged me long enough to read to the end. I liked it until the end.
I know, but I didn't get my inner meanings across and stuff.
It was your first book after the Gateway, right?
Yeah.
First book. The first couple of ones are always going to be the hardest, right? You learning steps. What's your next one going to be like after this? Probably way better. At least to yourself.
It is way better, and and then the third one that I'm working on at the moment is even better than that. I am literally a colossus amongst indie comic book makers.
Let's go. And they're all stepping stones. And I thought this was a really good take right off the rip. I wasn't, I never go into a book expecting the story, but this was way different than I expected. I thought it was going to be the story of a dude fighting his alcoholism or something. It threw me for left field. I loved it. So this is where we see them meet up, and we kind of get the breakdown. He says at first he wanted to cook for her. And she's kind of seen behind that, and then we kind of see where he starts breaking down what Willis did. Willis did him wrong, and this is what kind of at first when I was reading this, I thought he might have been making it up, but then we've come to find out that it was all true. So what was kind of your reasoning for not showing Willis going off the deep end? Showing just the after effects instead of just him doing it, when it happened.
So I don't really get the question.
Let me rephrase that. What made you want to have him break it down to Sarah like this instead of showing Willis doing the action himself? So instead of having this scene happen, what drove you to do this instead of having them fight it out?
Right. Basically, time. And because I only wanted this to be 22 pages, but I wanted the three deaths, Willis's own death of riding off into the sunset, the death of his of him in the eyes of both Taneka and Sarah, and then the actual death that will come along later in the book and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it would be because you can kind of get lost in the weeds when it comes to storytelling. Because in my mind, they're they're going to get together and stuff, and then and essentially how when people just they're kind of their logical leaps and plot holes and stuff, and how did that happen? And it's essentially because the author knew what was going to happen, and they want to get to the good. They want to get to C, so they'll go from A. Quickly go from B, and we'll get to C and stuff, and it's and it's and it's a lot harder to basically take your meandering time with B if you've only got 22 pages in which you've got you've got to hit certain points where there has to be a splash page in on page 12 because it's in the middle of the book, and then you've got to and so that was the and then you got to hit essentially. And that was the reason why he's telling her. So that's the reason why he's telling her what. Because obviously she's not there because he's because Willis has left her ages ago and stuff. And so and again Taneka wants to start a relationship with Sarah now that the path is clear, so to speak. So. Yeah,
no, I got you. And I'm always interested in asking those questions because the creative process is always different with every writer, so it's always interesting in hearing, the reason for your direction or what inspired you to kind of go this way. And I think it's really interesting of seeing how these two broke it down and kind of seeing how things develop. Eventually, she says, you know, they can talk about it over a drink, and then we go back to Willis, and things are definitely not faring out too well for him at all. We see that
such a difficult page to fucking draw.
Yeah, so we see that he actually got caught up, and he's getting dragged over a cliff, and it just, you know, he gets hit in the eye. Is this some dirt or a rock that hit him?
Yeah.
And yeah, he's pretty much, it's like everything that he did to hurt the two brothers, it's kind of happening back to him. It felt like.
Pretty much, yeah.
With the eye, we see him getting yanked over this cliff.
I didn't even. That was totally 100% intentional. I didn't just draw it just random. No.
Yeah.
Totally, I meant to do that.
No, I caught it. Especially with how in depth you wanted your storytelling to be. I almost felt like it had to be a pivotal moment with this because he shot the one brother in the eye, right?
We will say that it is a pivotal moment, and that's I did it on purpose. I didn't just randomly do it. I did it on purpose. I'm a competent storyteller who can do things.
Hey, but you know, from this point forward, you know.
yeah. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take this. These 2 pages were one, obviously the angles and stuff are kind of a bit more awkward to get because like not many photos or photo references of people literally being dragged by a horse
off a cliff. Yeah.
So like trying to get the angles and stuff, and then.
So what did you do to accomplish that though? Did you have any sort of like character model you were looking at, or one of those like adjustable guys for art? You know, what kind of helped you?
I've got them. I don't tend to find them that useful, but like because I don't use them properly. But you know, I honestly can't remember what I did it specifically to. I think I just sketched my way through it really. So I just sketched my way through it.
Right here we kind of see him hit a rock and break his leg. This is a pretty graphic look right here with the bone breaking through the knee.
Also, these 2 pages, I got like really, really ill, like during drawing this. So like essentially, like I just like I sat down and I was like, no, I'm like really, I'm too ill. So I just basically just left him alone for like. So I came back to him at the end. So I had about like instead of doing like a page a day, I had like about an extra day or 2 to come back to these later on. Just yeah. Probably
so feeling like death while drawing out the death. I get it.
Yeah.
So we kind of see him right here taking a rather far plunge, bashing his face, bashing his bones breaking.
I was really proud of these panels.
Yeah,
this entire page, I'm really proud of.
Yeah, he is not looking too good. Blood splattered up on the cliff side. And then right here we see him like just hit the ground. I thought this was really, really detailed too, seeing him just hit the ground and lose the air out of his body from hitting. And yeah, he's struggling. He's barely breathing, and stuck in the water too, left to die. So I thought this was really detailed. This was really graphic. You know, why are you drawing out this man's death like this? You know, what kind of made you want to go this route? Was this like the karmatic justice being served to him, or?
Well, yes, and I just like drawing violent things. I'm a gory artist. I'm a kid of the 90s, man. Like so, like you know, like anime and manga and like the image cats and stuff. Like you know, it just appealed to me to you know.
No, I love reading graphic and gore. That's like some of my favorite mediums to read. So this was right on my alley. I can't give
you a deeper reason than that. Other than it's like, and I can do it quite well. So it's like. Play to your strengths and everything, like you know.
And then this is kind of where we go back into the truth. You know how Willis said he was an honest man playing, you know, with cheaters, but he was the one that was cheating, dealing from the bottom.
Yeah, to talk about the storytelling techniques and shit that I'm using. So Willis, when he's talking, it's like three tier panels and stuff. So like that's his story parts. When he's the POV character, there's 3 panels. When it's Sarah, it's 5 panels. When it's Taneka, it's 6 panels. And when it's Chang's Chang's time, it is 7 panels. So like, so the deaf and violent bit, they're also 7 panels because Chang was in control. when Taneka was skeeving on Sarah, it's £6 because he's in control. And this is him telling the story of what happened. So 6 panels, and also like the narration box is different because Taneka's not with us. So I wanted to make that distinction and stuff.
So what drove you to do that? That's a really, really interesting concept. I don't think I've ever really heard that before, giving each character kind of their own amount of panels to kind of story tell.
I wanted to break. It seemed the right thing to do because one, it also helps stop going off on random tangents and case of like, no, they need to like it, because if it's only 22 pages, then like there's only a finite amount of panels and pages you can tell, and if you restrict yourself to three panels and 4, 5, and 6 panels, it means that you can only tell the story in a certain amount of way. But also, in theory, it would also help break up and just delineate where when different parts of the story are happening. So like the flashback will be in the 3 panels with Willis and stuff, and then the 6 panels would be the would be to next. So in theory, it was meant to help break up the story. Like I think next time if I do that, I'd put more. I'd put also like location like locations and stuff in there to help like properly delineate, because like I think one of the slight flaws in this otherwise perfect book is like it's kind of hard to know where stuff is taking place, because I know what I'm doing, I know what's happening, but it might not be so easy for other people to catch in because they're not listening, they're not in my noggin while I'm talking.
I think that's a good take. I would say, while reading this, or like going through it a second time and going through it with you, it helps to open it up for me, of course. But when I was reading it myself, that initial like up here when we see him like get shot and then kind of go back into his like right here, I didn't know. I thought he went hunting after his wound, and then like I read down here, and then I scrolled back up, and I was like, okay, that was like a flashback. So I see what you're saying, like kind of detailing. But I think it's the fact that I didn't realize, like I was looking at the desert right here. And then, you know what I mean? Like this was like a different environment, because you see the leaves and you see the foliage. So that's probably just me not looking enough at the detail. But, I see what you're saying.
It's me not telling you properly. It's because you don't know. Like it's the first time you've picked this up. Again, it's one of those things you can get lost in the weeds of your own of making it stuff, because obviously you know what you're doing, and you know why point A to point B to point C happens and stuff. But like. But you can kind of get lost as to why and not communicate that to the audience as succinctly as you should or could. So like it's just for next time I'm doing it better. In the second book I've done it a lot better.
And we're gonna go through that at some point too. I'm excited.
I want to let people to know that I'm vaguely competent at this.
Yeah. So this is kind of just what's happening with Willis. We see him starting to lose his mind during this game, getting very violent with his friend, swinging at him, and then he gets thrown out. And they were hoping that he was gonna sleep it off, but that of course did not happen. And he comes guns blazing.
Yeah. I like that shot of the bullet going through the bottle.
Yeah. This was really beautiful.
Not to keep tooting my own horn, but like I'm going to, so it's, you have to put up with it.
And then this is where we kind of see the story start to unfold. He shot him in the eye, shot this guy in the throat, and the bartender's just in the background, just like kind of freaking out. Like what is going on right now? And then he just walks off. So, who ends up shooting him in the stomach then?
Chang.
So,
the one who got shot in the eye is one. He's grazed and stuff. So, like he's grazed in the eye. So, like he's the one who shoots Willis and then drags him off behind him on the horse.
So we see very, very sad telling the story, and then Sarah kind of just chugs on her beer and just smashes it against the wall.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of where we. Oh wait, what were you gonna say?
that's my favorite kind of panels to do, where like it's more like kind of animated kind of thing, where like beat, and then I like doing this.
And then we see right here, Willis is just not looking good. Seeing the sun like through the foliage, not quite dead yet. Huh?
That's meant to be the moon.
Yeah, and this is where he's kind of just hearing everything. He shot his brother into the throat. All this, and he's like, he can't even remember what happened. Saying, what happened to your eye? So he got blackout drunk and totally forgot.
Yeah. She obviously pissed off Chang and stuff.
And then we see him picking up like a torch. Is this what he smacks him in the head then?
Well, it's meant to be a log from the burning fire. But if this line here, you don't deserve the words, and you don't deserve words that are an effort from my tongue. Initially, I was gonna have all of Chang's dialogue in in Cantonese and stuff, but like we the audience wouldn't know what he was saying, because I figured that'd be, I thought that'd be quite cool. And then I wrote that line. I was like, no, I quite like that bit of dialogue, so so that's why it's translated for us, the audience, even though so yeah.
And yeah, this is where we see him. He's on the horse's back, tied up, and then he's getting carried off to eventually his grave. And this whole entire time he's stomping on his broken bones and stuff. Like Willis is getting put through the ringer.
He is.
This is where he asked him the question, "Are you a decent man?" And it was, when I read that, I thought it was rather humorous, because like that's kind of how he starts off, telling the audience he's a decent man, he's a good man.
Yeah.
And this part was really brutal too, seeing his fingers get chopped off with the shovel.
I think that line, like, are you a decent man, lying to the end, I think that was also one of the cruxes of the story. Like, when you come jotting down your initial ideas, like I think that came quite early on. So yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to get buried in a grave that wasn't his own. So yeah, I think that's one of the initial very early things I came up with.
No, I really enjoyed it too. So his fingers get chopped off, and he's thrown into the grave. He's screaming. He's not knowing what's going to happen next, and then he gets stabbed in the middle of the back, it looks like, with the shovel. Yeah. So what a way to go, get dragged off a cliff, break your knee,
and then have
get your fingers chopped off. On you. Yeah. And this is, we see him get buried alive, and then. Yeah, this is when he was killed, January 9th, 1856. So any importance with this date?
No. Maybe when I finished the book, I there must have been something with it, but like it's obviously that's not his grave. So he's beneath someone else's grave. So and the reason why he's called Willis Waterhouse is because there's a British film play called Billy Liar, and like it's written by Keith Waterhouse and
I see what you did
William
there.
Hall or whatever. So like I just took their name, And Keith was always a good name to use. So
no, that's awesome. So why have him buried in someone else's grave?
Because why not? It just seemed like a cool thing to do.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if there was any like important significance behind it.
No, it was more of a case of like it just seemed like a dark, cruel thing to do. So,
and then this is pretty much just all the information. 13 shots of whiskey, the 3 deaths of Willis Waterhouse, written, drawn, and lettered by Markus Pattern. I didn't know you knew Dan. Like I love Dan. I interviewed Dan about what was Agent? I think Good Agent issue 7, and then we talked about Under God. So that's awesome to see his name in here.
There's police coming to my fucking home. Yeah, no, he's a godsend. Like he proofread he proofread for me, he helped me out so much with especially with the second issue, because I was essentially going to do something, and like it was because like the 2 main characters are Spanish, and I was having them speaking in like kind of English Spanglish kind of thing. He's like, yeah, don't do that. And it was like, it wasn't going to be like a thing I was going to do forever, but like he's basically like stop me from having it as a placeholder and stuff. So Yeah, basically these cats were just trying to basically help me hone the story and get it better. All of them, by the way, awesome. you should have on your show. Devin is the nicest guy on Twitter and has the silkiest voice. Nikki is such an awesome artist, and you should definitely have her on. Kristen has just released a thing called Prologue, which is the best depiction of death I've ever seen, like the actual physical character of death. Yeah, I don't know what George O'Connor does, but like he was a tip-top guy as well.
Yeah. That is so awesome, and I'm always down to have them. It's just either getting the introduction to them or getting a chance to meet them. I want to say I'm friends with Devin on Twitter.
But he's friends with everyone.
But I know Dan's one of my dudes. I'm excited to kind of get his book. Under God was like what, $12 for the first 48 hours. You got the book and a signed head sketch. I was like, that is a remarkable deal. Like, that's awesome. So
yeah,
Markus,
that's a really good deal. Yeah.
What was that?
I was just saying, it is a really good deal. I was contemplating what a good deal it was, and then I basically let you start talking before I interrupted you. So Markus, I appreciate you giving us a nice little breakdown of issue 1. We are coming up to the part where it is time for us to begin wrapping things up. Where are you heading next in this issue? So you had issue number 2. Do you want to kind of give us a small breakdown of what to expect in issue number 2? It's a neo-noir true detective style thing set in 1950s. Where basically, the solicit is that the town of a nice conservative county in California is being bedeviled by a serial killer. But did he kill Roxy Jackson? No, and it's up to our man Sylvester Bloom to prove the truth that he knows, even though he can't because the evidence is gone. And,
okay.
Yeah, it's full of sleaze, sex, and violence and softball.
Let's go.
It's basically a detective story in which, basically the main guy, Sylvester Bloom, is a private detective, and he is hired to get pictures of Melody Malik having an affair, so that her husband can then divorce her. And she's like, no, I don't want to lose my money. Why should I get divorced just because he's paranoid that I'm having an affair with other people? He's having an affair as well. So why don't you go take photos of him? And he's like, well, no, because I'm under contract. I have some sort of honor and stuff. Well, how about you? And she's like, well, how about you go take photos of the mayor having an affair with his wife's niece, and then we'll be even. And he's like, yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, this sounds like it's just a big cross of like a lot of craziness happening at once.
Yeah, and then like he goes off, gets the photos, but while the mayor and his wife's niece are having Roxy Jackson are having the illicit tryst, an accident happens in which she dies, and instead of being like, holy shit, she's dead, let's do the honorable thing and call an ambulance stuff, the mayor's assistant has it so that she is then it's basically set up like it looks like she was murdered by the burnt ends killer, and like the way he murders people is he burns them to death in ditches and stuff, and this like is really it's a heinous thing to do. And
yeah,
the best is like, I ain't letting that fucking shit lie. So the rest of the story is him trying to prove that what the mayor and his assistant did to this poor girl.
So are you looking to have like 13 like stories within this to kind of fit up the 13 shots of whiskey? You said it was like somewhat of an anthology, right?
Aiming for 7.
7?
I think I can do these about 7 weeks. One issue takes me about like 7 to 8 weeks to do and stuff. And I figure if I do at least 7, that's about a year's worth of work, and I can go from there. Though saying that, if any publishers out there like, holy shit, he can draw a book and write it in 7 weeks, we've got to get him on the blower. I am available, and I will drop this like a fucking turd if you want me to. Obviously, it means everything to my soul, but I'm not precious. I will sell my soul.
Yeah, are you looking at working on anything outside of 13 shots of whiskey in the near future? Or is this kind of going to be like your golden egg for the next year or so?
The plan is to get the 3rd issue finished, which is called Nagal Gadar, get that finished, and then while also working on a couple of pitches for for publishers, and saying, like, instead of going like, oh, instead of being like, not to say, instead of putting all my hopes and dreams into one perfect pitch package that I send off to all these people, like, I'm going to be like, yo, I've done this. These are 3 issues that I've done, all on my own, all on my own steam. So you know I'm good for the work. Here's what ideas I can bring to you. Here's the 3 options. If this takes your fancy, I will do it for you, unless you want me to do something else. But here's the body of work that I've completed in this short amount of time. Here's what I'm willing to give to you. You tell me you want it, and I'll pause 13 shots of whiskey, and I'll execute. I'll pull a trigger on this for you and stuff. So that's the plan, essentially.
Yeah. I gotcha.
While it's a lot of fun to sit and draw and write and create comics, fucking publishing them is an asshole. Like, just like the amount of like for example, I finished the 2nd issue a while ago, and it's been digitally released and everything, and then I'm still waiting on the physical issues copies to come in because it's a paper shortage and stuff, and these things take time. It's not, it's just like, and it's like, and then the physical process of trying to sell them. It's like, and it'd be nice if someone else did that. And I like the physical process of, it's like, I spent like all of this morning emailing a bunch of people saying, like, do you want to review my book and all this stuff? And it's like I don't want to be doing that noise. Like, it's this I want to sit down and draw and create. That's what I'm good at. Like the idea of coming along and begging for the reviews and interviews is like, I'm not. It's I'm not really in a mood to do that. And so if someone wants to publish me and stuff, then I'd much rather they did it, because one, they're a publisher, so in theory they should be better at it than I am. And self-publishing, unless you're Dave Lapham or Ed Piskell or Jim Rugg, it doesn't really fucking mean anything. Whereas like if you've got like a name behind you, that's got some clout to it.
So I think we covered a decent amount of ground with the issue 1 and kind of just everything in between. Before we officially wrap things up, though, I do want to ask you one important question, because as much as I love showing a spotlight on you and your book, I also look at this kind of like a learning experience, like a learning tool for everyone watching. So for any indie comic creator out there that's just starting, they're kind of trying to get their own book off the ground, or maybe they had a bad experience, with Kickstarter like yourself, and they're trying to just do something on their own, but they're having trouble just getting it started. What type of advice would you give them to kind of help them push through that?
Just, it's trite, but he's kind of got to do it, really. All the good bits of advice that I've heard is like, first time out the gate, make it short. Like the first issue, these issues I'm doing, these ones and dones, they're only 22 pages. That's like, and if you can, like, I can basically do about like a page a day, page and a half a page, and but I can do about a page a day. So that's only like 22 days, right? So that's a finite amount of time that I'm spent dedicating to this. So that's I have to work on Friday, so that's like 4 days. So that's 4 days. So that's 5 weeks of solid drawing. At the end of those 5 weeks, you have a book that you can sell. If you go off doing your magnum opus, where you're doing like a 1,000-page epic, you're not going to finish it unless you're like mad crazy or whatever, or you're lucky or whatever. So you might as well start to keep it short. That way you can also like learn and evolve, and your style can be like, well, I like doing that, or I don't like doing that, or this is really irritating, or like, because like MFN that you like start off with a character design that you just don't like doing. It sounded good to you at the initial, and like after page 3 is like, I just can't get that jawline correct, and then like you're stuck with it like 1,000 pages down the line. Whereas like if it was 22 pages, it'll be over in a month.
And then the journey to it would be a lot less, I would almost say mentally exhausting, like creating a short, 22-page comic compared to like 1,000-page, whatever graphic novel or, whatever. Yeah.
And also, again, there's the thing of having something physically finished in your hands. Well, that's an achievement. Like, I've done that. someone else pointed out on Twitter is don't think of these things as like your heart's. These aren't epic tones. These aren't your heart's desire. These are products that you are going to sell. And if you don't romanticize the process of making it, if you keep it as mercenary as you can, then it's much easier for you to kind of finish and get, especially if if you have no issue sitting and finishing something, then this advice I mean nothing to you. But if you know you can do it, then the stumbling blocks like the fact that I'm lucky in the fact that I only work 2 days a week, so I've got 4 days to myself. I have savings behind me, so the main bit of advice I would give to your listeners is to be lucky, be really lucky. That's the only way you can really get ahead in this noise. But if you keep the work short, and you can get it finished. If the desire's in you, you're going to do it and stuff. But obviously, no, there's some days where it's not going to be there. So don't push yourself when it's not there. Pay attention to what burnout looks like, because that will just fuck you up. Because I suffered burnout about 5 years ago, and I literally haven't recovered from it yet. I can't create stuff on my head. I need jumping off points. And also, this is really important, and is never work for free. Your time is valuable. You are valuable. If someone says I want you to do this for exposure, fuck that. You can expose yourself.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah. There's been a couple of people I've heard who go who rich kids, and their daddies give them £5 million pounds and stuff. You've got to learn to work for free. No, bruv. I'm not doing. This is my passion, not your.
That dude's not struggling with 5 million,
He's not, if you value your time and your effort, and because this takes time and effort. If you value it at nothing, you will be viewed as nothing.
Yeah.
And you'll be ridden. The Beatles never ever played a gig for free. The one time that some promoter did try doing that shit with them, they argued the shit out of him, and eventually he gave him the bar's entire stock of Coca-Cola. Never work for free.
No, I think that is a remarkable thing, and I think a lot of times people feel like they should because they don't have their foot in the game, but they don't realize that they can make that foot in the game themselves. And
that's what you mean by foot in the game. Am I a successful comic artist because I've got because I've released 3 comics that are now for sale? 4
but
actually.
I'm sure
5. So
I'm sure you can get hired as a writer.
There's 5. But am I successful because I'm not working for Image, IDW, or Boom, or Marvel, or DC? What's your level of success?
So like this, if me and you were to go,
you should never pay. You should never pay to play.
So for me, what I meant was if me and you both were to apply for a gig, you would get it over me because you have a portfolio, you have a foot in the door, you have something where you could be like, hey, I did 5 books. I'd be like, hey guys, just believe in me,
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of meant. You have your foot in the door already because you already have a couple books already made. You have something where you can be like, yeah, I can do this. I did this, where I wouldn't know where to even start.
I mean, I didn't mean to be all kind of towering wallflower. Oh, am I a success? No, it's what do you classify as success?
And everybody has a different level of success. Maybe that is your.
As long as I know I'm not going to make. I know I'm not going to make it fat stacks at this, but I've seen how much the page rate is, and I've seen how much money I can make. It's that's more than I'm making in my retail job. I could pay my rent with that. That's a good goal. Am I going to be the superstar artist who draws Deadpool for Marvel, and then that's the thing that spins off into his next movie franchise? Maybe, but that's just icing on the cake. I need to earn money so I can support my wife and my child. Otherwise this is just a glorified hobby. So it's just your level of success. And again, you should always be harsh on what you think you want, otherwise you'll be not motivated. But then other people's I don't know where I'm going with that. Basically, you should fuck me, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah.
We could put a little Jeopardy music in there. I don't know if you guys have Jeopardy over there. I would almost imagine, right?
No.
Really?
Actually, it completely baffles my mind when you lot go on about it.
Like the game Jeopardy, where
I know of it. I've never watched a single episode. It doesn't play it over here.
Oh my
we
God,
have our own game shows. We have pointless, don't you know?
Well, that is officially my biggest flop on the show yet. Thank you for that one, Marcus.
Sorry, baby. I mean, there's loads of things. It's just that simply doesn't come over here. I mean, obviously, I think isn't it Wheel of Fortune is something different to Jeopardy, isn't it?
No, yeah, Wheel of Fortune is different.
Jeopardy is the one where they ask questions. Yeah.
Yep. Isn't it crazy just how different things are just across the pond? Like how man, that is so awesome. But it
you want
is
to see how
time for
goofy
us.
this country is? Google Countdown.
What's a Google Countdown?
Google Countdown, the show. It's one of the longest running shows in these sceptred isles, and it's just basically two cats in a playing like jumble, and there's a dictionary corner, and it's just like, and then like and then there's a pretty woman in the corner basically putting up letters and numbers, and then she goes on Twitter and has a meltdown about anti-Semitism.
That is insane.
It really is.
Well, I think it is time for us to begin wrapping it up, Marcus. I had a fantastic time breaking down 13 shots of whiskey and your history as a creator. Let's get you back on for issue number 2 at some point. I'm really excited to dive into it because it sounds like a completely different twist compared to what we experienced for Willis. I'd
be down for that because like one of the things that I was gonna do was I was thinking, a video I could do for my own YouTube channel which I've got one, is to basically kind of flip through the book and talk about it. Mm-hmm. But like I would be talking to myself. So if I could do this for you, then I could just link that in. So I like this too.
Yeah, let's go. Well, I appreciate it, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. We have 2 more indie comic interviews planned for today because today is my free day. Wednesday, new comic book day. I try to line it up with interviews throughout the day. So stay tuned. We have our next one going live at 4 p.m. EST. So until then, I'm going to be taking a little break and getting some time in with my significant other, hopefully before she goes off to work. So that way she doesn't kill me for doing nothing but comic interviews. With that being said, guys, have a fantastic Wednesday. Be sure to check out Marcus's work down in the description below. You can get his digital comic on Gumroad. You can get the physical as well, I think, off Etsy, correct?
You can do, yeah.
So be sure to check out those links. But most importantly,
Print's
guys,
on Etsy as well. So is my commissions are open.
Yeah, commissions as well. It was one of those things. I'm probably gonna have to pick up a physical as well because it's not. I don't think it's too bad of a price on Etsy either, right?
I mean, not to you.
Yeah, let's go. So guys, with that being said, have a great Wednesday, but most importantly, keep it geekly.